Hello, children. How are you all? Shall we continue the lesson, collectors? In the previous class, we had learnt about aliens, spaceship, and the story of the adventurous walk of teachers and students. As it was raining heavily, they were in need of a shelter, and at last they found a house. With the help of Mr. Hunt, they were able to get into the house, and Mr. and Mrs. Brown were courteous enough to let everyone inside the house, even after knowing that they were dripping. Mr. and Mrs. Brown requested teachers to be in the living room and offered tea for the teachers. Children were made to be in the kitchen as there were no enough room in the house. But children were very much surprised to see the empty kitchen and found weird in everything. Now, keep your textbook open, children, and follow as I read. Carol, maybe we ought to have gone on walking to the village. Don, we would have got drenched. Mrs. Brown comes back into the room. Mrs. Brown, all right here? Good. She notices the partly open cupboard door. Oh, were you looking for something in that cupboard? Don, it was Wayne. He was busy, Nossie. Mrs. Brown, I see. She closes the door looking at Wayne. Wayne, I didn't mean any harm. We just wondered where you put your plates and things. Mrs. Brown, I'd rather you didn't touch anything. We have just moved in and haven't had time to sort things out. That's why this place looks rather deserted. Pete, we only wondered. Mrs. Brown, yes. Well, would you all like a drink? Tracy, I would. Glenn, me too. Mrs. Brown, will orange juice be all right? Wayne, yes please. Don, fine, thanks. The others nod. Mrs. Brown, good. And remember, please leave these cupboards alone. Wayne, we will. Pete, don't worry, Mrs. Brown. Mrs. Brown, She looks at the closed door of the larger cupboard on the opposite wall. Do remember that. I'll go and get those drinks. She goes out. Carol, did you see her hand? Don, no, what? In this part of a lesson, we have come across a new word called as drenched, which means abundantly covered. But in this context, it is completely wet. Moving on to the explanation. After offering tea to the teachers, Mrs. Brown gets into the kitchen. She, being a keen observer, notices the partly open cupboard door and inquires with the children. Being panicked, children try to convince by saying that they were curious to know where the crockeries were kept. For which Mrs. Brown says that they had just moved and had not sorted things, and says she would offer orange juice as children would prefer juice rather than tea or coffee. Children were very happy. Mrs. Brown once again warns the children not to touch the cupboard and moves out to get the orange juice. Carol, who had noticed Mrs. Brown carefully, asked her friends whether they had noticed Mrs. Brown's hands. Moving on to the next part of the lesson. Carol, when she closed that cupboard door, she has 7 fingers on both the hands. I looked. Tracy, horrid. Pete, I was watching her eyes. Glenn, yes, as far as I could see, they were all one color. They didn't have any black sort of centers. Wayne, Go on. She could be something weird like a vampire. Tracy. Oh, shut up. Don. Yes, shut up. You're making all this up to scare us. Pete. No, we are not. Tracy. I don't want to stay here. Wayne. I'll tell you something. That rain has changed to thick fog outside. I have been watching it. Glenn. Yes, you can't see anything out of that window. Carol. No, I hope it doesn't mean we are going to have to stay here at night. Tracy. Stay here? All night? Not me. Don. I don't fancy that either. Let's go. Glenn. We can't just slide off. Pete. I'll go and tell Mr. Hunt and the others how we feel. He goes out. New word which we have come across. Vampire. A corpse that rises at night to drink the blood of the living. New word which we have come across is vampire. vampire. But we pronounce it as vampire. Vampire. Children, here you can see a picture of an alien, wherein watch the eyes of it, wherein you can find only one color in it. And the fingers, the shape of the fingers are also different. In the same way here, Carol, who had noticed Mrs. Brown's hand while closing the cupboard, says that she had noticed 7 fingers on both of her hands. Pete had watched her eyes, which had only one color, but no black balls like human beings. Tracy, Wayne, and Dawn were very scared and wanted to move out of the house as early as possible and were scared enough to stay at night. But Pete notices weird in each and everything and suggests that he would talk to Mr. Hunt as to how they felt in the house. Assignment for the day, children. First one. What weird did children notice in Mrs. Brown? Second. Learn to pronounce the word vampire. Third. What did Mrs. Brown offer to children? Thank you. Have a good day, children.